Another day and more visitors via the transfer portal. Will Tennessee make any of them stick? We'll find out. It's your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it, your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at Monarch Money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, that's over at Monarch Money. Amaree Abram commits to Tennessee. That's via basketball, and so you see this roster continue to assemble, and numbers-wise looking pretty good. Still, 2 open slots. I think they're going to fill at least one of them, hopefully 2 of them. But you're starting to see that roster come together for Rick Barnes in the basketball program. Hit on that in segment 2, Josh Ward in segment 3. But first, Tennessee hosting at the beginning of this week a pair of cornerbacks via the transfer portal, and here is a little bit of info on those 2 guys. The first one that's expected to be on campus, I guess it was yesterday, late yesterday, is Brent Austin. And I find that hilarious because, of course, you guys know me. I work at VolQuest.com. My boss is Brent Hubbs, and one of my colleagues is Austin Price. So Brent Austin, what a name, from South Florida, cornerback. And he's 5'11", 180 pounds. He has 1 year of eligibility remaining. And last year in 2024 for the Bulls, 48 tackles, a pair of interceptions, 10 pass breakups, which is a pretty good mark, on 753 snaps. So his Pro Football Focus grade was 74.1, which is really solid. And again, 753 snaps, that is a ton of playing time. He allowed only 1 touchdown on the season. He gave up 34 receptions when he was targeted 75 times for 307 yards yielded, where he allowed. Again, that's courtesy of Pro Football Focus. And actually, Pro Football Focus had him at 11 PBUs. So a really experienced guy, a guy that played an awful lot in 2024. In 2023 and 2022, he started his collegiate career at James Madison, played 154 snaps in 22, played 157 snaps in 2023. In 2022, he's improved every year. In 2022, a 56 Pro Football Focus grade. In 2023, a 73.3 Pro Football Focus grade. So a big leap there despite playing about the same amount of snaps from his freshman to his sophomore year. Big-time leap in terms of his grade at Pro Football Focus. And then a big-time leap in terms of the snap count while maintaining, actually getting a little bit better in terms of that grade, going from a 73.3 to a 74.1 Pro Football Focus grade, but going from 157 snaps to 753 snaps, leaving James Madison in 23 and going to USF in 2024. So Brent Austin, again, 5'11", 180 pounds, 1 year of eligibility remaining. Supposed to be visiting campus, I guess it was yesterday, and we'll have to see exactly how that visit went. But that is a cornerback that Tennessee's looking at and expected to host via the transfer portal. Another expected host, and I say expected because things change all the time. There's been so many different times where I've come on this show and Tennessee's planning on doing this, Tennessee's scheduled to host this, and then those plans change, right? It's the transfer portal moves as fast and furious. You can set up visits, but sometimes if you're kind of down on the visit list, not all the time, but sometimes if you're down on the visit list, they don't often make it to you because those schools get them to commit there on the spot or whatever the case may be. So those things change. But another cornerback that is expected to be visiting Tennessee's campus this week, probably later in the week, is from Colorado, and his name is Colton Hood. Colton Hood, 5'11", 190 pounds, redshirt freshman. He has multiple years of eligibility remaining, so unlike Brent Austin, who only has 1 year, Colton Hood would have multiple years, which is a good thing. Played in 3 games in 2023, therefore he took a red shirt. 24 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups a season ago, or I guess in 2024 this past fall. So pretty productive, couple of picks. He played 332 snaps for Colorado this past season. Pro Football Focus grade at 68.8. He allowed no touchdowns. And again, he had 6 pass breakups. So a guy that's got some experience. And when you're looking at cornerback, where I'll get into in a moment, kind of where you are right now, you really just need some depth. It's not necessarily you're looking for a proven starter at this stage in the game. And I don't want to just say a body, because I feel like that's a little disrespectful, right? But you just need some depth. And I think Colton Hood would be a guy that could provide some pretty good depth for you in this regard. He began his career at Auburn in 2023, only played 44 snaps, 70.4 Pro Football Focus grade, but again, 332 snaps in 2024 when he transferred to Colorado, 6 PBs, no touchdowns allowed, 68.8 PFF grade, two interceptions, 24 tackles, and a guy that's going to have multiple years of eligibility remaining. So those are the 2 cornerbacks that are slated to visit campus at some point this week. Brent Austin from South Florida, Colton Hood from Colorado. And we'll see exactly if Tennessee can get a commitment from one of those. I think Brent Austin sounds like, at least on paper, looks like a really, really good player, productive player. Again, Pro Football Focus, take the grades with a grain of salt and all that, but I love looking up the times targeted, yards given up, touchdowns given up, snaps played, all that type of stuff. And Brent Austin is experienced as they come, for sure, especially this past year, with South Florida, and really, really productive. And only has 1 year left, and would add some really good depth there behind Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson, Jalen McMurray, and so on and so forth. Now, that kind of brings me to where we are right now. What does it look like for Tennessee at the cornerback position right now? Well, Jermon McCoy, of course, he's injured right now. Towards ACL, training in the month of December, late December, early January, when he was back home in Texas. So he's been out all spring practice. He's rehabbing, trying to get back as quickly as he can. Of course, we'll see if week 1 is a time that he can actually step foot on the field. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trainer, but I would, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't be too bullish on week 1. Even if you are cleared and ready to go for week 1, what do you look like? We'll see. But he will play, don't get me wrong, and he'll play the bulk of the season, but it might not be ready for Syracuse there at the end of August. So Jermon McCoy's not there. What do you got? Well, you got Ricky Gibson and you got Jalen McMurray, and I feel really good about that. Those 2 guys, that tandem. Ricky Gibson, of course, really came alive as a sophomore this past year, moving into a full-time starting role. Jalen McMurray, who is the transfer portal addition from Temple, not this time last year, but in the December window in the last offseason, and played a ton. He was the primary backup for both Gibson and McCoy last year. Played an awful lot, experienced guy, and if you have to start the season off with Ricky Gibson and Jalen McMurray as your top 2 corners, that's not bad. You're not in a bad situation at all. But behind them, what do you have? Well, you have William Wright, who I feel like has been in college a dang near decade, right? You remember he was on the field there towards the end of the Alabama game in 2022, a walk-on. Well, he's experienced. He has played in some big moments. He's still on the roster, and he's there as a depth piece. So that is a depth piece that I feel pretty decent about. You have, freshmen as well. It's like Dylan Lewis and Ty Redmond and some of those other guys. So it would behoove the Volunteers to bring in at least a cornerback, right, just for depth purposes. And they are hosting this week, expected to host Brent Austin and Colton Hood, Colorado and South Florida cornerbacks on campus this week by way of the transfer portal. We will see what comes of that from Josh Heupel and his football staff. All right, when we return, we got plenty more to get into. We'll shift gears over to basketball, and we'll take a look at the latest commit for the University of Tennessee and how good this roster can be. All that and more is coming up next as we continue here on a Wednesday, Locked On Vols. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money, you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much money I was spending on online shopping, food delivery, stuff like that. I budget smarter, and now I save more. Instead of juggling all these multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with my wife now is smoother than ever, and you can track all your shared accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year, again, over at monarchmoney.com. Tennessee basketball has picked up another commit via the transfer portal, the third of the cycle, when Amaree Abram made quick work of his visit to Tennessee earlier this week, calling his pledge and committing to the University of Tennessee on Tuesday afternoon. Amaree Abram, again, 12.3 points, 4.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists at Louisiana Tech a season ago. And again, he commits to Tennessee after visiting campus on Monday. Tennessee needed a shooting guard. Tennessee needed a guard. You got Jacoby Gillespie, point guard from Maryland. That's great. You got Jalen Carey, power forward from Vanderbilt. That's awesome. Nate Amin, of course, the late signee from the high school ranks, number 2 overall in the class. He's going to be your small forward and, the 3, if you will. But Tennessee needed a guard, right? Tennessee needed a shooter. Tennessee needed another backcourt player, and that's why Tennessee was looking at tons of different guys, specifically Rodney Rice over the last couple of weeks, who was teammates with Jacoby Gillespie at Maryland this past year. But ultimately, you have Amaree Abram, who commits to Tennessee, and again, played Louisiana Tech this past year, but started his collegiate career in the Power 5 level, and ultimately played in the SEC the year after. I'll get to that here in a moment. But this past year with Louisiana Tech, again, 12.3 points, 4.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists. He shot 42.2% from the field, not bad. 37.3% from three-point land, not bad again. 32.1 minutes per game, so durable, plays a lot of minutes in each contest. Again, that was this past season in 24 to 25. He started his collegiate career at Ole Miss. Let's see here. He started his collegiate career at Ole Miss. So yeah, that's right. Starting 22 of 33 games in 2022 and 2023, averaging 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. So he started his career at Ole Miss. Okay, so he started his college basketball career at Ole Miss in the SEC. That was in the 2022-23 season. Then he went to Georgia Tech in 23 and 24, but just played in 10 games that season when he averaged 3.4 points per game, 1.7 rebounds per game, and 1.1 assists per game. But knows what this league is all about. Again, starting 22 times a couple years ago at Ole Miss, scoring 8 points a game, okay? Veteran, played in some different systems, played in some different leagues, but what I really, really like about Amaree Abram is that 42.2% from the field and that 37.3% from three-point land. That's not bad. I like that an awful lot. The 12.3 points per game, almost 5 rebounds per game, almost 2 assists per game. That's great. But the percentages from the field, when you're talking about shooting, 42 from the field, not bad. 37 from downtown, that's getting it done. And of course, you got Amaree Abram, who is joining the likes of Jacoby Gillespie, Jalen Carey, in this comprising now, what is this transfer portal class? Jacoby Gillespie, of course, downtown Greenville, Tennessee, one of the top players available in the transfer portal this cycle, coming over from Maryland. I think On3 has him ranked as the number 10 overall player in the transfer portal. Point guard, guy that just wants to be a Vol, right? And a guy that's bringing some Sweet 16 experience and a lot of different things in his arsenal for his game here to Knoxville. Jalen Carey, bringing some toughness and bringing a true front court presence in terms of scoring, something Tennessee hasn't had in, quite some time. And again, is he going to be Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield? No, he's not. But Tennessee still hasn't had a consistent front court scoring presence in a while. I mean, Jonas Adu was that a little bit last year. You had Olivier Combois, who was, hit or miss in that regard, 2 years ago. But consistency, the ability to play inside out, not to be so predictable on the offensive end. I think Jalen Carey is going to provide a lot of that for sure. And then, of course, Amaree Abram joining the likes of those two guys. The high school signees now. So you got 3 from the portal. You have 4 from the high school ranks. Nate Amen, okay, he moved up from number 5 all the way to number 2 in his class, 5-star plus. Going to be a lottery type guy after this season. Nate Amen's the headliner there. And Amari Evans, guard, 4-star. 4-star center Dwayne Brown, who is a big fella, about 250 pounds. Point guard Troy Henderson, who is a lower ranked player, but played AAU basketball with Nate Amends. Troy Henderson actually committed to Tennessee a couple weeks ago and then, signed shortly after that. So those are the 4 guys who committed and signed with Tennessee from the high school rank. So that's 4. Couple that with 3 from the transfer portal so far. That's 7. Those are 7 new pieces for Rick Barnes in this 2025-2026 basketball roster. So then you add that to the returners that are set to be. You hear my voice crack right there. You add those to the returners that are set to be back for Rick Barnes and company this year, and it's 3 front court players, 1 back court: Felix Okpara, Cade Phillips, J.P. Estrella, and Bishop Boswell. So that brings the total number to 11. Okay, so that's 11. 2 spots are open. Tennessee's going to fill at least one more of them somehow. I think Tennessee would benefit greatly if they filled both of those, because you never truly understand, you never truly know, I guess, if you're going to run into another Cam Carr situation. And college athletics here in this day and age in 2025, you just simply don't know, right? So Tennessee's at 11 right now, 2 open spots, and I think they're going to fill at least 1, but I think they love to fill 2. Of course, Tennessee had to say goodbye to 6 seniors, and that's rare in this day and age, right? At least, I guess, how many homegrown players they had. And the homegrown players, I count Jordan Gainey in there. I know he didn't begin his career here at Tennessee, but Jordan Gainey's been a part of this program for a while now. Sakai Ziegler, Jemai Mashak, Jordan Gainey, Chaz Lanier, Igor Milichich, and Jonathan Stone Dubar. Those are the 6 seniors that Tennessee had to say goodbye to. So roster reconstruction, I think this is something that Rick Barnes really enjoys. I think this is something that makes him different than those of his peers in the industry. A lot of those guys that have had so much success and have been coaching for so long, but decided to hang it up early or go ahead and go, speed up retirement a little bit by maybe a season or 2. I think Rick Barnes loves attacking this time of the calendar. I think he loves, crushing a 3-year recruitment into 3 weeks. I think he really enjoys that. And I think the evidence speaks for himself the past couple of years. Dalton Connect, Chaz Lanier, and then so on and so forth. We'll see what comes of this transfer portal class. But again, the third one joining the class via the transfer portal, Amaree Abram, who committed to Tennessee from Louisiana Tech on Tuesday afternoon. And over there at VolQuest.com, he caught up with Austin Price. Here's a couple of quotes. I encourage you to go read the whole story. I'm just giving you a couple of the quotes. He said, quote, "I knew that they win and they're always tough and they just get it done. They're always in the NCAA tournament," when speaking on the University of Tennessee. He continued to say, quote, I feel like Tennessee made it home on my visits. I feel like the coaching staff and the environment just felt like home and made me feel welcome, and I really, really enjoyed my visits." On what he brings to the table, quote, "I bring a lot to the table. Toughness. I can be a glue guy. I can do anything the team wants. I'm a two-way player and can play on the ball and off the ball, and a guy that can guard the ball pretty well in anything that the team needs." It's a really good mindset to have. That is a mindset that Rick Barnes really, really covets in a basketball player, and hopefully that is exactly who Amaree Abram is, the latest commit from the transfer portal for the University of Tennessee. So that basketball roster is coming together. Football roster via the transfer portal, still a work in progress. We'll see what's in store as the rest of the week continues, and we'll keep you updated right here on Locked On Vols. What does Josh Ward have to think about everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks? Busy time in Tennessee athletics. We'll catch up with Josh Ward for our Ward Wednesday hit coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Don't go anywhere. Josh Ward, we were joking before we hit record. I don't know if we talked about Joey Aguilar last time we talked or not. I mean, there's been a lot that's going on, this time in the last week for me and for really everybody as well. But first and foremost, your thoughts on Joey Aguilar coming in here to compete for Tennessee's QB1 with Jake Merkley or George McIntyre. Kind of fast moving, of course, once he officially hit the portal early last week. I mean, it was, almost signed, sealed, delivered. There was only so many landing spots, and obviously Tennessee was very much in the market.
Yeah, I think with Tennessee getting Joey Aguilar, it is probably not what Tennessee would have wanted if the Volunteers are making some kind of move 4 to 5 months ago. But the December and spring windows are very different. And Tennessee's preference would have been to go get a starting quarterback from a power conference school. I know Joey was set to start at UCLA, but somebody who was established at a Power 4 school. But that was just going to be too difficult because of the time. It could have happened in December, not realistic in April. Considering that, coming out of this transaction with Aguilar is not too bad. Aguilar is a guy that's played a lot of football. He has had success. He has a skill set that Josh Heupel can work with within the offense, and he's going to have to go and win the job, but Aguilar is going to have a real chance to do that. How quickly he can get things going with his teammates, learning the offense is part of that too, but I think the bigger deal is chemistry with his pass receivers and how quickly they can develop that while he also competes with quarterbacks who have already been on campus. That's a big deal, but Tennessee could have done worse than Joey Aguilar for sure. So to get somebody with real game experience, having played a lot at Appalachian State, is not too bad.
In your research, looking up on Joey Aguilar, watching some highlight tapes and all that, what do you like about his game, and what do you think that is going to allow him to fit well within what Josh Heupel wants to do here at Tennessee?
Well, first of all, I'd probably start with mobility, his ability to run, use his legs. He'll do that within this offense. I'll be curious early on, do we see a little bit more of that in what he's asked to do, what he tries to do offensively? A concern has been his turnovers and his ability to give the ball up. That happened a lot last year. But I like the fact that he's going to play for Josh Heupel, who has a system and offense that is designed often around getting the ball out, protecting the football. Quarterbacks have taken care of the football under Josh Heupel. So Aguilar, I think, will be better at that at Tennessee. And then, let's see. They're going to dial up shots down the field. I think he'll have a chance to connect on those. Now, the first overthrown ball, assuming Aguilar is on the field, fans will say, here we go again. But he'll have an opportunity to hit some deep balls in this offense. I think he'll have a chance. I think he'll stand a good chance to connect.
Yeah, going back to something you said earlier, like if it is Aguilar that wins the job, and that's my assumption, right? But maybe that's premature. I mean, there's absolutely going to be a quarterback competition in fall camp, and he's behind the 8 ball. I mean, right now he might not even get here till June, which again, that's not nothing. That's a big deal. I mean, it really is. But regardless, if he is QB1, could they be a bit more, I don't want to say reckless, but take more chances with them, run the football more with them, call some more design runs, all that type of stuff, because, you've got Jake Merklinger that's probably not too far behind if he does not win the job himself.
That would be my expectation at the start of the season. He should not be at his peak in what they're capable of doing offensively. I would think the staff, Josh Heupel's comfort with Aguilar, again, assuming he's the guy, will grow as the season goes along. So early on, I would think that his legs, his mobility, his ability to run will be important. Now, if we talk about being reckless or being overly aggressive, you don't want to get him hurt, even if you have some confidence in Merklinger being the guy. So there is always that caution that I have. But, I mean, let's say they're in a tight game against Syracuse. They might trust his legs more in that opener. Let's see against Georgia a couple of weeks later. There are also going to be some opportunities to grow. They have some cupcakes early on. Mississippi State is the first road game. Not a guaranteed win, but that's the road game you're going to pick if you're choosing one to open up with on the road. So there will be some opportunities, not counting Georgia, to grow within the offense early on in the season.
Let's shift gears from Tennessee football now to the NFL draft. And pretty good showing for Tennessee. James Pearce, first-round selection, couple fourth-rounders in Dante Thornton and Dylan Sampson, of course, a second-rounder in Omarr Norman-Lott. You got free agent signings that we know about so far with you've got Amari Thomas, you've got Elijah Simmons, and a couple of other ones as well. Overall thoughts on how Tennessee showed at the NFL draft?
Yeah, I like spots for where the guys landed. I mean, James Pearce Jr., let's see with Atlanta and how they do. He's a first-round pick, so that's success for him, for sure.
Yeah.
They need pass rush help. They were aggressive in going and getting James Pearce, so he is going to have an opportunity day one to make an impact for the Falcons. I really like Omarr Norman-Lott going to Kansas City. He'll be a part of a defensive line group that is led by Chris Jones, so one of the most impactful players in the league over the last several years. And during the broadcast, Louis Riddick was talking about, hey, pass rush situations, watch out with Omarr Norman-Lott on the field, knowing what Jones does as well. And he's going to be a part of an organization that is buttoned up, has great leadership. He'll get to battle with Trey Smith from time to time on the practice field. So VFL connection there. The Cleveland Browns franchise is not in the best of positions, right?
Wait, you mean to tell me, hold on, you mean to tell me taking two quarterbacks, that quarterback room, oh my goodness, just ridiculous. And then I don't hate the fact that they drafted both Judkins and Sampson, because you can never have enough quality backs, but you're right, it's not the quintessential organization in terms of leadership and player personnel right now.
But for Sampson, he's going to walk into a room where there's all kinds of stuff going on. And Sampson is about his business. He is about handling his role. He arrived at Tennessee having to work his way up the depth chart, and then obviously broke out having a legendary season his final year in Knoxville. And he can go in not being the guy at running back, but Judkins and Sampson as a combination can kind of be the next phase in a running back room where they've had a lot of success. Nick Chubb's injuries derailed his final time there with Cleveland, but he was great.
Yeah.
And I think Sampson's going to have a chance. If he can take care of the football, show that he can be a good receiver out of the backfield, he can carve out a role there. I'm a Raiders fan, so I'm excited for Dante Thornton to get an opportunity there. He's going to have to show more of what he can do, but you can't coach his size and speed. So that got him an opportunity in the NFL, and best of luck to him trying to make something of it. He'll be there with a veteran quarterback. That has to help in Geno Smith.
Your thoughts on Mel Kiper, his performance over the weekend?
He was aggressive, no doubt about that.
Yes, he was.
One thing that you want to be as, I think, a broadcaster or a communicator, you want to be direct and you want to be clear. And Mel Kiper Jr. made it very clear where he stood on the Shedeur Sanders situation.
And then again, and then again, and then a meltdown on Saturday. You got to love it.
Yeah. Well, people tune in at different times, so you want to make sure the audience is aware that you don't want them to have to catch back up and wonder what you might have said earlier.
Got to play the hits.
That's it.
Absolutely. Let's go over to basketball now. And Tennessee picked up the commits from Louisiana Tech and Amaree Abram on Monday afternoon. What do you like about his game and overall this roster that is nearing completion? Still 2 spots open. Tennessee will fill at least one of those, but it's starting to kind of come together now.
Yeah, so Abram provides some more shooting. They needed somebody to fill that position at guard on the wing, and he can do that. He has SEC experience from his time at Ole Miss, shot the ball well last season at Louisiana Tech, better than 37% from 3, and every team needs shooting. Tennessee has to replace Chaz Lanier. Nobody should expect that kind of shooting from Abram or really anybody, because Lanier put up the best season in Tennessee history in 3-point shots made.
I thought he was really bad. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So adding Abram to go along with really an impressive haul to this point and what they've been able to add, it's a nice get. Rick Barnes and his staff have set such a high bar for what fans, I think, expect during the offseason in terms of putting a roster together, and then they keep going back and meeting it. So 2 years ago, adding Dalton Connect and Jordan Gainey, who ended up being a really important piece. And then last year, the transfer class that came in. This year's combination of high school recruiting and transfer pieces will create, I think, another terrific roster. We'll see how the chemistry comes together. We'll see about leadership and all of those things that will matter. But the personnel, the talent will rank high again in the SEC for Tennessee.
Josh Ward, what's going on in the show Monday through Friday, noon to 3 with VFL Jason Swain?
Yeah, so we're talking about this offseason, and we're post-spring, in a lot of ways post-portal in football, so looking ahead now to projections for this upcoming season. The same can be said for basketball, and then baseball. We're approaching the final stretch of the regular season with just a few weekends to go. So there's a lot happening for Tennessee football and Tennessee sports fans to keep up with, so we're covering it noon to 3, Monday through Friday. Find it anywhere you get your podcasts, along with the Sports Animal and the Sports Monster in the Tri-Cities.
Yeah, Tennessee baseball, they got to turn over a new leaf here. They got to take advantage of being home the next 2 weekends, right?
Yeah, these next 2 weekends are key, and this team can still accomplish a lot. They obviously have to be better, but they've been close. If they hold on and win the game on Friday against LSU, we're still talking differently about how the weekend went. So Tony Vitello knows that some things need to be better, and that's what they're working on right now. And these next 3 weeks, the next 2 weekends at home especially, will really matter for that.
Josh Ward Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Eric.
That is Josh Ward again every single Wednesday right here on the show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. What's the latest in Tennessee in the transfer portal? Does anything come of Tennessee hosting some of these cornerbacks? We'll discuss. We'll get you set for Tennessee baseball this weekend and whatever else is happening in the world of sports right here on Locked On Vols. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.